Hey, good morning, guys. Hope you've had a great weekend. Maybe you went out. Hopefully, you came to church and did the trunk or treat, but maybe you went out and did trick or treating or did something with your family and had a good time on Saturday night. And now we're here to learn about God's Word and solve a mystery, maybe the mystery of Moses. You know what? The Bible verse or the memory verse this quarter really is a good one for the Halloween season. Deuteronomy 3:22. You must not fear them, for the Lord himself fights for you. Shouldn't be afraid of anything. Number one, because a lot of the silly, spooky things aren't real. Ghosts and goblins and witches, that's not real. But God is there for us for the scary things that we may encounter in life. Sometimes we all get scared, but God is always with us. So hopefully you're doing your packet work. Hopefully you're enjoying this mystery. And hopefully we're going to get some clues as to who this Yo Mama Llama is. See you guys next week. There's a Sea of Galilee. There's a Sea of Galilee. There's a sea. There's a sea. There's a Sea of Galilee. There's a boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's a boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's a boat. There's a boat. There's a boat on the Sea of Galilee. There are men in the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There are men in the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There are men, there are men, there are men in the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There are hands on the men in the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There are hands on the men in the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There are hands, there are hands, there are hands on the men in the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There are nets in the hands of the men in the boat in the Sea of Galilee. There are nets in the hands of the men in the boat in the Sea of Galilee. There are nets, there are nets, there are nets in the hands of the men in the boat in the Sea of Galilee. There are fish in the nets in the hands of the men in the boat in the Sea of Galilee. There are fish in the nets in the hands of the men in the boat in the Sea of Galilee. There are fish, there are fish, there are fish in the nets in the hands of the men in the boat on the Sea of Galilee. Sammy, did the moving company call yet?
Yeah, they just called.
What did they say?
They're ready whenever you are.
All right.
Hi, Mr. Moses.
Oh, hey, kids, I'm glad that you're here.
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm packing up the Music City Museum. We're taking the Music City Museum on the road. It's going to be great. It's going to be in a tent. It's going to have the exhibits, kind of like a circus. I got the idea from the Bible you guys gave me. The Israelites, they travel around. They had a tent in the wilderness. It was
You're thinking of the tabernacle.
the tabernacle. Yeah.
So the tabernacle is what the Israelites did, kind of like a church, but on wheels. So it's like a tent.
They moved it around.
They
from
moved it around from
place
place to place. The Israelites did.
Huh? Well, just like I'm going to do with this museum.
Where are you going to get the money for this, Mr. Moses?
Money. I hadn't thought of that yet. I don't know. Where did the Israelites get the money from?
Well, you see, the Israelites, when they moved the tabernacle around, they would always give a contribution in the tabernacle.
And you see, the Israelites, they donated their stuff for the tabernacle to be made, you know?
Oh.
Like donations, like modern day Goodwill.
Modern day Goodwill.
Goodwill, that's also,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So they would give their stuff, so they made the tabernacle with the things that they had, but they also moved it around from place to place, and it was a place for them to worship while they moved.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. Well, I think this is a good idea. Listen, kids, I've got to go. You stay here, and I'll be right back. Well, I don't know if I'll be back. Get that moving company on the phone. I plan to be in Texas by tonight.
We need to figure out this Yo Mama Llama situation before Mr. Moses leaves.
I agree completely.
Okay, so we need to come up with our list of suspects.
You know what the first suspect should be? Sammy.
I completely agree.
You agree, Shaggy?
Yeah.
Everybody else agree?
Hmm?
Now here's my reasoning for Sammy. She's never on the job, and when she is, she hates doing her job. Now that means she either one, wants more paid, or two, wants to get rid of this museum so she can have it. And I think it's both of those. So Sammy, prime suspect right here.
Okay, but what about Dewey?
Man, no chance it's my boy Dewey.
But he is Mr. Cheatham's son.
True, true.
That's right. But could they be scheming a plan together? Because Mr. Cheatham is always around and always wanting more money from Mr. Moses. But Dewey, on the other hand, is also always around, and he might be trying to get a plan of how to stop the Music City Museum from existing, and probably for Mr. Cheatham to take it over.
Yeah, and the sisters, they practice at the museum.
Yeah, and Davy Cheatham thinks he's
Wait,
still in...
who is Davy Cheatham?
Davy Cheatham, that's Mr. Cheatham, you know. Do your research, everyone. But he still thinks that Dewey's in California, so...
That's right. So Dewey is now a suspect.
Okay, but if we have Dewey on the list, we have to have Mr. Cheatham.
Of course. Isn't that
That's right.
obvious?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Cheatham, he hates the museum.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a suspect. He's just so weird.
But also, do we think Mr. Moses is trying to get Mr. Cheatham off his back?
You're not saying maybe Mr. Moses is a suspect, right?
Shaggy, I am. Let's just talk about some telltale signs that Mr. Moses is this Yo Mama Llama.
All right, let's hear it.
Shaggy, what are you thinking?
I mean, I personally don't agree with these, so I'm just gonna...
You don't agree with me?
No.
Well, Mr. Cheatham keeps coming to him asking for more money.
Yeah.
So if Mr. Moses loses this museum, he doesn't have to pay Mr. Cheatham anymore. Does that make sense, gang?
You're so smart.
You're right. You're right.
Even last week, Mr. Moses was trying to catch the Yo Mama Llama, but didn't, and caught us instead. So that kind of brings up some red flags. But also, every one of these people are our suspects, and we've run into every single one of them. I think we should probably split up and just have a conversation one-on-one with these people.
So you're saying an interrogation?
Interrogation. Now I think we should go talk to these people one-on-one. Who's with me? Are we ready to catch these guys?
Oh yeah!
Yeah.
Mystery gang on me, mystery gang on through. 1, 2, 3, mystery gang!